I'm Lauren with Pack Hacker, and in this video we're taking a detailed look at the Aer Carry-On, which I've been testing for the last 2 weeks. Let's dive in. This is Aer's first foray into rolling luggage. So with them, you can see from an aesthetic standpoint, it's a pretty sleek looking bag. We have a little Aer logo here at the top and a little bit on the side with the carry handles here and then the top handle as well. But in the scheme of things, pretty simple on the outside. The only ridges we have are along the edges here. These are kind of like, they're like optical illusion-y. They're around the entire thing. This is the safety orange colorway, so it's obviously very bright. And with how bright this colorway is, depending on like how the light hits it, it can be like kind of dizzying to look at. The black is a little less so, but it's very interesting. Not something we see on a ton of bags. The other thing to note is that because this is a completely flat top, there's no ridges or anything. So when, like, let's say they gate check this bag, because it is a little above the dimensions for a lot of carriers. So it is technically called the carry-on. If you're flying with someone like Delta, where they're a little bit more lax, you'll probably be able to get this on, but it is technically a little bit too big. So it's something to keep in mind. Definitely kind of use that at your own risk, because they could like check it and take your bag from you and you might be asked to pay a fee. But in this case here, we have this bag where, you know, let's say they check it and then they put it in the cargo hold. You can see on the back here, I've got some scraping up that happened, and if you look down at the bottom, you can see it down here, and you can see like one long scrape, or actually a couple long scrapes that go like up the entire bag. And that definitely happens with other pieces of rolling luggage, but usually there's like ridges that come up a little higher, so it's more like staggered. In this case, it might scrape up like the entire back when it does scrape it up. So that's something to keep in mind, more of an aesthetic thing than anything. On the bottom here, we have 4 sets of really nice wheels. These spin really nicely. They feel really secure in here. They're super, super smooth. I would say probably the smoothest that I've tested so far. Personally, we've seen some similarly smooth ones on other pieces of rolling luggage we've used, but they are really quiet as well, which is really nice. And then we have YKK zippers, or YKK zippers kind of throughout here, especially on the outside, in addition to a combination lock that's TSA safe, so you can just easily pop that up as needed. And then a couple other things here, we have like the side carry handle, which that pops up. It gives has a little bit of give to it, so when you grab this, it kind of pulls with you. And then the top carry handle is the same here. There's also holes in them, so in this case, this comes with a luggage tag, and so you can stick the luggage tag through this hole, which I like because usually you just have to put it on the handle and then it's like flapping all over the place. That's way more controlled, so I think that's kind of like a cool handle design that we haven't seen yet. There is no padding, and I do find that this thing is heavier than a lot of other pieces of rolling luggage of a similar size. And with this carry handle, when this thing gets heavy, like there's no extra padding or anything. So I didn't find that the most comfortable for grabbing. We'll also sometimes see a carry handle on the bottom here to help you with being able to like move it back and forth on like a tabletop or something like that. And there is nothing there, so that's another thing to keep in mind. And then with the actual handle itself, this is pretty simple. This is just a basic handle. It's plastic. There's no additional padding or anything. It's fairly ergonomic, so no issues with that. With comfort, but it wasn't like standout in terms of comfort. And then we have 4 height adjustments there. You can see all of the dots, and then it goes in nice and sleek. And then there's also a locking mechanism, which we'll show you in a second. Like I mentioned, these wheels are super sleek and they roll really, really well. You can roll it on 2 wheels, you can roll it on 4, but otherwise, you know, regardless, it's pretty quiet. This is the highest height adjustment that we have. So you can either go here, then there's a second one. Yeah, there we go. Second one there, third one there, 4th one there. So this is the lowest it gets. I'm 5'6". This is comfortable. It's nice to have 4 adjustments. Sometimes you only have 2. The one thing that kind of bothers me about this is, you know, all of all the adjustment is gone. It's standing up like this. Usually when you drop the handle, it drops on its own. I have to manually put it down every single time. This is a pre-production sample, so maybe that will change, but for me, it's just a little bit tedious to have to manually kind of put it down every single time. More of a nitpicky thing than anything. If it doesn't bother you, it's not gonna bother you. The other thing with this, there is that locking mechanism. So there's that little switch that you push and it locks the back wheels so that it doesn't actually move at all. This did work for me. I took it out of my car, set it down, it started rolling away, so I locked it and it stopped rolling. So I think it's something that functionally, it's kind of a cool feature to have. There is a drawback to it, but it's not something that we've seen on any other rolling luggage, so it's cool that they're being a little bit innovative that way. If you're finding this video helpful, be sure to hit subscribe so we can keep making content to help you travel smarter. So now let's take a look at the inside of this thing. So as I mentioned, we have nice sturdy YKK zippers. This is the TSA approved lock. So you just kind of set your own code, get those in there, and then the zipper pulls fall out nice and easy. This is a kind of standard clamshell design. And the reason I say that it looks kind of familiar, they worked with a company that also helped like Away bags make their luggage. So the internal organization is something that we're seeing in a lot of bags actually recently. And so we've got this kind of like half and half design, which is pretty standard. We've got one side here with like a compression panel, and then the other side that's completely zippered. So I'm gonna start with the compression panel. There is a fidlock buckle on the top here, which if you know Aer, that's pretty standard. Haven't seen a fidlock buckle yet, but it's, you know, it works like any other buckle would. The actual strap itself is just like nice and premium. I would say like what Aer does really well is they choose very premium materials and they're made very, very well, which we'll see with the liner as well. But it's just kind of that attention to detail that's kind of nice to see that we don't see very often. So we have kind of like that Y-shaped strap. It just flips out. This panel is removable. You can't see the removable part right now, but if I pull this to the side a little bit, you can. There you go. You can see that it kind of pops out. I do find this annoying to remove and like try and put back repeatedly. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. A lot of these things are going to be something where it's like, I found it potentially annoying, but like you might not find it or you might prefer it. So it's kind of up to you whether or not this works for you. The first of which being this panel right here. So this is pretty standard, has a pocket on the top. I've just got a packable hat in here, so toss that off to the side. And then this panel keeps all this clothing from, you know, falling all over the place, kind of acts as like a packing cube, right, or compression cube. The thing with this is that this flips upward instead of from one side to the other. So for example, with Away's luggage, it flips, I can't do it, but it flips onto this side. So there are a couple of caveats. You kind of have to pick what annoys you or what you like maybe. With this case, it flips out of the way and then, you know, you have full access to everything instead of with Away's, it would flip onto the side. So you'd need to flip like this panel and the other panel out of the way. In this case though, you can see it just takes up, I mean, if I pull it this way, you can see it just takes up so much packing space. So now instead of having, you know, you just have one suitcase that's, you fold it open and then that's all the space it takes up. Now you have to account for this. I did put it, I like put it this way and then stood it vertically and leaned it up against a wall, and that worked for me. Or like I said, you can remove it entirely. It's kind of up to you. I don't love the flipping out thing. I think it just kind of overwhelms me because it takes up more space, but again, might not be a huge deal breaker for you. So here we have a bunch of space for clothing. I've just got everything kind of loaded in here, so I'm going to take it out. And this is pretty standard. This is something obviously you see a lot. The clothes are really easy to kind of pack between all of the like handles here. The difference though is that because of that locking mechanism, this is actually that locking mechanism here, and usually this space is also fully empty for you to be putting clothing in. It takes up a little bit of space, definitely adds a little bit of weight. It's something that could potentially break and then become useless. So I don't think that I would use the locking mechanism enough to justify this, but if you love that, great. It also doesn't take up enough space to where I would like be turned off from buying this because of that, because I can stack like a couple of smaller t-shirts on top and it's in the scheme of things okay. So kind of up to you. This is on Velcro, so you can see more of the zipper here. There's no additional functionality that we can tell from that, so I'm just kind of hanging out. But we also have this other side here, nice zippered opening. I guess I'll look at this first. We have a mesh pocket on the top, which I have just some accessories in here. So I use this for like flighter items like gloves, gloves and belt. I think that's actually all I put in there. And then there's also a pocket here. And this has a speaker in it. I just put like smaller kind of techie items in there because I felt like that was really what that was best for. It's pretty shallow. It goes to about here. And then there's also a hidden compartment. This is where you would put like an air tag or something. So that zippers up. And then when you're done, flips it over. This is a Cordura nylon or a Cordura liner. So it says ripstop. It's a material we see a lot with Air, feels very familiar, but it's also just made really well, which you'll see when I take everything out of here. So this is the part of the suitcase where you just kind of like, I personally put my clothes on this side and then put all the other gear over here. You could swap that, kind of a personal preference of how you like to pack. But I have all my cubes and my pouches in here, like a travel yoga mat. This is a pair of men's shoes because I wanted to show you how those fit. I believe these are size 11. But then here, what I think one of the things I was most impressed about with this piece of luggage was this liner, about how sleek it is in here. You can see it's taking up it's like perfectly sewn. It's not sewn in, like you can pull it out, but it sticks in there so perfectly that you don't, like on this side, a lot of luggage has like all this extra liner kind of flapping around, and it'll be like that on both sides. On this side here, it's like the liner is almost perfectly lined up with the outside shell. And so it just made like a really nice packing experience. I think that's like what I was talking about with Air. What they do really well is that sort of like aesthetic, the construction that they have of everything, that's where they really shine. And so if that's something that really interests you, then this could be a really great option for you, just with those premium materials and that premium design. But in terms of functionality, apart from the locking system with the wheels, this piece of luggage is pretty similar to a lot of luggage that's out there. So you kind of got to decide which features you like or don't like and if it works for you. So there you have it, the Aer Carry-On. Thanks for keeping it here at Pack Hacker, your guide to smarter travel, and we'll see you in the next one.